A prominent former National believes that right now is the time to get a big-time veteran piece into the building, but is it the correct time and will they do it? That's the big discussion on Locked On Nationals.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And I am your host, Ryan Clary. You can find me on Twitter at Ryan Clary11, but also look up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts, as we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is now the number one podcasting network in America. Sports podcasting network, I may add, in America. And later on in today's program, I want to talk about Seaver King. Seaver King has dominated the Arizona Fall League. I've got his final numbers for you and kind of a real discussion about why I think there's a good chance you're going to see him in 2026 this season. So we'll have that for you later on in the show today. And in the second segment, kind of talking about some veteran guys that the Nationals need. And I've got a few guys on my list that I think would make sense for the Washington Nationals. But we first try to make sense of the Nationals signing a veteran piece, as Ryan Zimmerman has said that it is time to sign a veteran to a 2 to 4 year deal. Who could that be? It is now the time. Well, I'll answer that. But today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So we get started today with Ryan Zimmerman kind of going on the record with his Nationals podcast saying that he believes right now is the time to spend on a veteran guy. Now, not trying to pick exactly what he means here, but when I hear a veteran guy to a 2 to 4 year deal, I'm not thinking of a superstar. I'm not thinking of the Nationals have to go out there and trade for Tariq Skubal. I'm not saying that the Nationals are going to go out and sign Alex Bregman. I feel as if that those moves right now really don't make too much sense. Alex Bregman, you can kind of talk me into it, but a Skubal trade makes zero sense for where the Nationals are. But here's where we can kind of get into a real discussion. And I don't really know if Nationals fans are ready for this, but here's my big point. Are the Nationals ready to go and sign that Jason Worth? We have talked about it. I said last offseason, I'm like, okay, this is the offseason where the Nationals are going to say, we got to go out and sign a veteran. You've got your young guys up. You had CJ Abrams. He was developing into an all-star shortstop. Mackenzie Gore was coming into his own. You had a couple of other guys come up like James Wood, Dylan Cruz. You had pieces. Luis Garcia Jr. had a little bit of a breakout in 2024, and things were looking up. And the big move last offseason, as we know, was trading for Nathaniel Lowe. That did not work out. In this season, the Nationals regressed. You fired Davey Martinez. You fired Mike Rizzo. And there is a totally new regime from the baseball operations to the dugout. And now we're in the offseason and we could see a completely new roster on the diamond. I feel as if that this Nats team, the way that it is constructed now, is not ready for a veteran piece. When the Nationals signed Jason Worth back in 2011, you were anticipating having a franchise-altering player come up into the majors within the next year or so with Bryce Harper. You had guys down the line, like you had another top pick in the 2012 MLB draft where you selected Anthony Rendon inside the top 6 picks there. You had a ton of farm system. You had a ton of prospects inside your farm system that was really ready for the major leagues and ready to take those steps up, like Danny Espinosa and guys like that. You go out there and you trade for Kurt Suzuki. You have your bullpen set. You had Drew Storn as your closer. Tyler Clippard as your 8th inning man. You trade for Gio Gonzalez in 2012. You have Jordan Zimmerman develop very nicely into this rotation. You had pieces. Right now, this Nationals team, we look across the board, and on yesterday's show, the two main pieces that the Nationals have, or two of the main pieces that they have, are Mackenzie Gore and CJ Abrams. Mackenzie Gore is likely going to be traded this offseason. There goes your best pitcher. CJ Abrams, your all-star shortstop, great offensively, not so great defensively. He's in trade rumors as well. If you were to sign an Alex Bregman, if you were to take that leap, let's just say it's Alex Bregman right now, how much better would this team be? Would it get to the playoffs? No. This team is not ready for that veteran presence. And when I mean a veteran presence, I mean a star like an Alex Bregman, like a trading for Skubal and extending him, which will never happen in a million years. This is a team that I think right now still needs some more time. And I think that right now, if you were to sign a Bregman, if you were to sign even a Pete Alonso, this team would kind of waste a few years of that. This is not a team that is surrounding with young players that are ready to really take these steps up and make a playoff run in the next year or two. That's the way that I look at it. And it's easy to say, well, look at the Mets and what they do. They just spend money, and that's how they replace some of their smaller players. And that's how they get in a Juan Soto. That's how they spend back in the day on Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. You can't just buy your wins. And yes, you may look at the Dodgers and say, well, what about them? Back-to-back World Series champions. One of the best athletes that we have ever seen was Shohei Ohtani. You don't think they bought him for $700 million? Of course they did. But then again, you look down deeper into it. They have the prospects, and they have the ability to fill out the rest of the space in their lineup with those prospects. The Nationals do not have that at this point. It's not to say that they don't have talent in the farm system, but are those guys ready to step up into the major leagues and answer all of your questions? Not necessarily. This team is not set up at this point in time to take that next jump. We saw it last year. They regressed. Is it all because of Davey Martinez and Mike Rizzo? It certainly is not. But also, let's just be honest. This team does not have the talent with or without an Alex Bregman or Pete Alonso to make a playoff run. And if you were to sign an Alex Bregman, that would kind of scream like the LA Angels and what they did with Anthony Rendon. They have all the talent. They spend the money. They're top 10 in payroll year after year. But where does that get them? Nowhere. And I'm not saying it's all because, they don't develop prospects. There's some unluckiness involved. Mike Trout seems to be hurt every single year. Anthony Rendon is a shell of himself nowadays. And they've had some really bad contracts. But that is a good example of a team that feels as if that they are ready, but have yet to develop their prospects and have yet to really fill out those positions surrounding your star players. Once I see guys like Brady House crushing the baseball, CJ Abrams hitting consistently, maybe Keibert Ruiz turning it around, DJ Hurst coming off post-Tommy John surgery and looking really good the way that he did his rookie season, and seeing Seaver King come up and make an impact, that is when we can have a discussion of having the Nationals spend on a big-time player. But the regression that happened this season does not back that up for me. And I feel as if you were to go and get a Bregman type, would it help you win more games? Of course it would. It's one of the best players in the game. But is it worth it for right now? Probably not. Would it help this team? Of course it would. But I feel as if that would not make that big of a difference for 2026 and even in 2027. You've got a lot of holes. There is a real case to be made over these next 2 years. The 5 starting pitchers that you have now might not even be on this roster. There's a real case for that. Your bullpen could look completely different entering this season. There's a real case for that. Those aren't guys that you just go out that grow on trees. Those are guys that you develop, that you have put years of work and effort into. This is a process under Paul Daboni that is going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of patience. And Nationals fans, you might want to rip your hair out when I say that, but it's going to have a lot of patience in this process because it's going to be one. It's going to be a long one, maybe. But right now, if they were to just go out there and say, you know what, we're just going to spend money and have the fans shut up, it's not going to do too much. Would it be nice to? Of course it would be. Would it help the team? Yes. A veteran presence is needed. And we talked about that all offseason long last year and all season long as well. Nathaniel Lowe was not that veteran presence. You know who I think was? Josh Bell. I think that's kind of the bucket that we'll be shopping in this offseason. Is it the correct thing to do? I just made the case for it. Would I want to see them go get Alex Bregman? Of course I would. Is it realistic? No, it's not. So, just to kind of wrap up this discussion surrounding the Nationals and what they need to do, right now they need to prioritize player development. And right now, I feel as if that the Nationals are in a place where they could spend on guys. It's not going to be Alex Bregman. It's not going to be Pete Alonso. But what could it look like? We've got a couple of guys we'll name after this. Let me tell you about our friends over at Game Time. The NFL season is back, and honestly, there is nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout. It's frustrating, but when I use Game Time, it's the app that gives me all the leverage back to the fans. And Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. And you'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included. So the price you see is always the price that you pay. And I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple of taps, I had my tickets when I went to the Lions Commanders game just a few weeks ago. I was on the Metro. I opened up the app. I saw the flash zone deals. I took advantage of it. But also before I bought them, I could see the view from my seat because there are some obstruction areas over at FedEx Field. And I made sure that I got the best deal possible. It was so seamless with our friends at Game Time. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON. Your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. We are back here on Locked On Nationals as we have a big discussion surrounding Seaver King and everydayers. You'll want to stick around for that because I think there might be a real opportunity for Seaver King to make the jump. I'll tell you what that path could be later on in the show today. But as we just talked about, there is a possibility that the Nationals could get that veteran piece that Ryan Zimmerman was talking about. But what will it look like? The number one guy on my list might look like a Marcelo Ozuna type. Now, if you look around baseball and kind of where the game is and where it's going, I do feel as if that we are in a little bit of a weird position, especially with the Nationals. But right now, what do you need? You need offense, and you need someone with a big power threat. That is when we enter this discussion of a Marcelo Ozuna type. I think Marcelo Ozuna would fill a lot of the holes offensively when it comes to the Nationals. And looking at what he has done best over the years, well, you might be asking yourself, what has he done best? That is hit for power. I think Ozuna is a very realistic kind of veteran bat that the Nationals could get. He is coming off a season of which he did regress a little bit. He's 35 years old. He's going to be 36. Actually, he just turned 35 years old. Will be turning 36 next offseason. But I think that this is a realistic kind of opportunity in which the Nationals could kind of pounce on this and give him that 2 to 3 year deal that Ryan Zimmerman could be looking for and what this team could really want. Because one of the biggest glaring holes on this team was that right-handed power bat. Unfortunately, we did not see enough from Brady House to say, I feel really good about 2026 with House. I still like what he can bring and like what he could be. He's very young, very talented, but also if there is any chance at competing, you got to get a right-handed power bat inside the building here. So that's where you kind of dip into the market of a Marcelo Ozuna type. Now, he just came off hitting 21 home runs, but the years prior to that, he had 40 home runs in 2023. In 2024, he had 39 home runs, 100 RBIs in each of those 2 seasons, in which he was an all-star back in 2024, and he finished 4th in the MVP conversation in that season. Now, obviously, he is on the decline. Do I expect him to hit 40 home runs if the Nationals sign him? I do not. Do I expect him to hit 25 to 30 home runs? Absolutely. And does he have the ceiling and the capability to go higher than that? I absolutely do. But having the protection of, let's say, with James Wood and Dylan Cruz and CJ Abrams and Dalen Lyle and guys like that, you would feel good with Marcelo Ozuna inside this offense, and the way that Blake Butera could probably orchestrate a lineup surrounding Ozuna, kind of being in the middle of it. That would be a pretty lethal top 4 to 5 guys in this lineup. I think this is a move that probably makes the most sense if we're looking for a flashy veteran piece. Is he going to be the leader that I think that the Nationals need? That's probably your biggest question. He's obviously had some off-field issues that have been covered for years, and we won't get into that now, but it's obviously part of the discussion with him. That's kind of the really glaring red flag that comes with signing a Marcelo Ozuna. But right now, need, this would be a big get for this team. And I do think getting a Marcelo Ozuna to sign on a 2-3 year deal and give him maybe a little bit more money than someone anticipate, that might be a smart move for the Nationals. And if it doesn't work out, if he's not the leader that we thought, and if he is playing well, that's probably a contract that you could easily trade. Someone who has a lengthy postseason experience under his belt, has been on a couple of postseason runs, was with the 2019 Cardinals, was with the Braves for the past 6 seasons. He's got a lot of playoff experience under his belt. A team would certainly be willing to trade for that contract, I think, if it came down to that. Number 2, I don't know if this is possible, but Zach Gallen. Zach Gallen from the Arizona Diamondbacks. This is kind of one of the guys that I think would be a big win if the Nationals could get him. And he's coming off a season of which he kind of regressed from where he was in 2023, where he was an all-star, finished 3rd in the Cy Young race, in which the Diamondbacks made a little World Series run there, fell to the Rangers. But this would be a signing that I think I would be very excited about. And I feel as if that he has a ton of bounce back potential. And just being at 30 years old, you could probably give him that 3 to 4 year deal. And as we were kind of talking about here, I feel as if that his leadership qualities were very high. I've actually seen an interview with Ketel Marte talking about Zach Gallen and his leadership attributes. I think that that would fill a huge need with the Nationals, with having another frontline starter there, especially if you trade Mackenzie Gore. I think Zach Gallen and Mackenzie Gore, the numbers that they put up, not the same. They're not the same kind of pitcher, but I do think he would replace some of the production there. And if you want some bright side of the story, coming off a kind of a down year as he enters free agency, not the best way to try to get your payday. But I think Zach Gallen would be that guy for me. If you're shopping in that tier of someone who might be a 2-3 year kind of guy, not some superstar talent, but someone who can and will help this team, Zach Gallen is one of those guys who, in my mind, would fit that category of someone who is, number one, reliable, and number two, hopefully, going to be a big part of this team moving forward. At just 30 years old, that is kind of the guy at this point where if I was going to say, well, if the Nationals are going to be shopping in this tier of not getting your Trevor Williams to sign a 2-year deal, you can do that. That's not a mainstay here in DC. He's part of this rotation for now, but we'll see what happens moving forward. Zach Gallen, I'd be very excited about. And I feel as if with analytics and data now in this organization, like I wouldn't feel as if like, oh no, when's the other shoe going to drop with this guy? I don't feel as if that's the case right now. I think Gallen is a very good pitcher, and I think that he's got a lot more room to grow. And hopefully, just hopefully, it comes right here in the nation's capital. But last but not least, Rhys Hoskins. I was dying to get Rhys Hoskins this past year. I wanted him real badly. But I feel as if coming off a down year with the Brewers. The Brewers have no interest in bringing him back, I feel like. They declined the team option. He's a free agent. He didn't have a great year at Milwaukee, but he is another bounce back candidate. He was with the Brewers last year, didn't get all the opportunities in the world, had some real issues there, especially defensively, but the Nationals have a hold on defense over at first base. They've got a hole with, again, a right-handed power bat. There is no question in my mind that Rhys Hoskins could bounce back. And seeing how beloved that he was in Philadelphia, that guy is a team leader. That is something that I think makes probably the most sense of all these guys when we're talking about him. And I don't even think it's going to take a 2 to 4 year deal. Like, that is a 1 year, I don't know, $14 million deal. I don't even know if it's going to be that much money. I don't know what the money could look like, but I'd probably bet on him getting a 1 year deal. If you want that veteran leader that could be a bounce back candidate, that could be a real impactful bat in this lineup, Rhys Hoskins might be the guy finally for the Nationals. And it would be kind of nice because he's going up against the Phillies, in which they kind of let him go, kicked him to the curb. Bryce Harper's over at first base. They're obviously real good friends. But I think that Rhys Hoskins would be a very intriguing signing for the Nationals this season. And last but not least, I don't think this is likely because I think he's a lot better than what a lot of people think. And I do believe the Nationals probably won't be in this sphere at this point, but a Michael King. I love Michael King, probably one of my favorite free agent pitchers on the market this offseason. I don't think the Nationals will be on that. I think he's going to get a pretty hefty contract, but for some reason, if he does kind of look for that 2 to 3 year deal coming off of kind of an injury struck season, sign me up for Michael King. That guy can pitch. He is a great pitcher. You saw him with the Yankees. You saw him last 2 years with the Padres. He is a real impactful guy. So he would certainly be an intriguing signing as well. But thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen. Next, let's get into Seaver King. I think there's a real shot at Seaver King, not only just being a breakout prospect, but potentially making his way up into the major leagues. I'll just kind of pave that path forward as he dominated the Arizona Fall League after this. The NBA is back, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, and the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. And plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a larger payout. I had Alex on over 9.5 rebounds the other night. I also took the over for that total for the Washington Wizards. And yes, they both cashed out. I hit my same game parlay. And with our friends at FanDuel, they gave me my money instantaneously. It was awesome. I love watching the Wizards, but it's even a lot better when you're watching it with our friends at FanDuel. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. There is a real shot and a real case to be made for Seaver King making the jump into the majors this season. Let me make it for you right here and right now. So first and foremost, Seaver King, we covered it this year. He was riding the struggle bus from day one down in the minor leagues, and he kind of weirdly got promoted this year up into Double-A in the middle of his really bad stretch offensively here. Now, the good thing about Seaver King is this. I do feel as if that Seaver King can and will turn a corner because, again, the biggest question marks under Mike Rizzo were the fact that he does not do well with these project type of players. He has not been able to develop them. He has a track record of this. And so when the Nationals made that selection, I was like, okay, but this is likely not going to work out. As we saw in his first full season, was not the best. You saw him play great defensively, but they were not able to tap into his bat. Well, I'm not giving Paul Taboni credit for this. Sorry, Paul. But Seaver King just crushed the baseball in the Arizona Fall League. It's only across 19 games, or 18 games even, but in that time frame, he batted .359, a .563 slug, 2 home runs, 24 RBIs and 6 stolen bases across just 18 games, earning first team all honors for the Arizona Fall League. That is an incredible stretch. And it is a very small sample size there in only 18 games, but you're going up against major league ready talent and some of the best prospects in the game down in the Arizona Fall League. So that right there is a real impressive feat. And he did kind of mention that he did make some tweaks with his swing. And I think Keith Law actually got this quote from him. And I'm just going to paraphrase it real quick. But it did sound as if that the Nationals kind of during the season tried to make a tweak with his swing, and it did not go too well. And I think that tweak was they kind of wanted the ball on the ground more often. I don't know exactly what it was, but that was a little alarming. I remember a lot of people making a big deal of it. That's the old regime. This is a new regime now. And I feel as if with this new regime, there is a new opportunity for Seaver King to completely prove himself. And I feel like right now, with where the Nationals are, I've always kind of talked about like with the Rays and how they cut deals their first round picks, and all of a sudden those guys end up becoming stars of the game. Well, the Nationals have their chance right now with Seaver King. Someone who is a top 10 pick, very talented player. He has legit like Gold Glove capabilities at shortstop. He is a very good defender with a very good arm. He's got a sneaky power. He's had some high exit velocities back in his day at Wake Forest. He has the ability to hit for average, and he's just an overall good player. And as we mentioned, 6 stolen bases for the Arizona Fall League. And even then, he looked really good on the base pass as well this season. I believe he stole right around roughly, I think it was like 30 bases this season, I want to say. Like, he's got the ability to steal 40 bags easily across a 162 game season. This is a guy that I think a lot of people right now are kind of sleeping on. And there is a path forward for him to make the majors this season. That path forward at this point kind of hinders around a CJ Abrams trade, of which I personally would not trade Abrams at this point unless it's a crazy deal that you're like, okay, I can't turn this down. I don't think the Nationals can get that, at least at this point. There's certainly a discussion to be had there. But for where the Nationals could go with King, I think that's the path forward. And obviously, Seaver King is going to have to play really well baseball, really good baseball over the next couple of months here. And I think he could. Nationals really could tap into him. If you get all the analytics back behind him, if you make the necessarily got it down defensively and on the base path, it's just a matter of if he can do it consistently at the plate. And if we see the version of what we just saw in the Fall League, you've got yourselves a heck of a player, like a legit, very good middle infielder. That would be a huge impact for the Nationals. And if you can't have Seaver King develop, he's far along enough where the guy was in Double-A. I would assume that he's going to start in Double-A this year. And if he crushes the baseball for the first 2 months, you could easily see him move up to Triple-A. Once he's in a Triple-A, next stop, Washington Nationals. That's not that far off. You've seen this team, and I don't know with this new regime how they're going to do it, but you see nowadays teams are way more aggressive with their prospects and the way that they call them up when they think that guys are ready. I would not be totally surprised to see him taking up your second base position or maybe even your shortstop position someday down the road right here in DC. And I could easily see it happening this season, and that is the road. There's a lot of things that will have to happen, but there is a path forward to see Seaver King make an impact right here at Nationals Park. So thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I will catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good one. Go Nats.